today. So before handing it over to our speakers, please allow me to introduce them. First, Émilie Larocque. She has a bachelor's in specialized education and a master's in orthopedagogy. She is very interested in research, scientific research into education and practice. She has a doctorate in psychopedagogy. She has been a research assistant and an assistant prof, and she accompanies teachers in co-development and reflective practice, adaptation of pedagogy into distance learning with adult learners, and integration of students that have special needs. She is a guidance counselor since 2020. Émilie is responsible for AEC in specialized education, remote education, and works in collaboration with the coordinator of the department to deploy projects related to the new version of the distance learning program. And the coordinator of the department, I introduce Nancy Denis. Since 2017, Nancy has been a teacher in specialized education at the college level, and she has more than 20 years experience as a specialized educator dedicated to young people with learning difficulties. She has a passion for technology and pedagogy, and I love that word, passion. She has an approach that is distinguished by her active and inclusive characteristics and the determination of the learners to meet the challenges proposed. So as a coordinator of the program of the department, she has contributed actively to the development of a new version of a program with a human facet completely given remotely and meeting the current needs of the labor market. Have a great webinar, everybody. I will now hand it over to our speakers for today. Yes, so hello. I will begin first of all by sharing my screen. So hello, everybody. Thank you for being with us in this webinar. Thank you, Nicole, for the great presentation. It's a second trial for us. Because we've presented this before at the AQPC conference at Gatineau last fall. So thank you for being with us for this second run-through of this presentation. We hope it'll be as good as it was the first time. Nicole introduced me. So Émilie Larocque, I work at adult education at Cégep Gaspésie des Îles. I am accompanied by my right hand, my partner, Nancy Denis, who is a coordinator and teacher in our program, I would say in specialized education. So today, quite humbly, our presentation seeks to show our innovative practices. So how we came to be a distance learning program that pushes the envelope pedagogically and technologically. So what will the presentation look like? Well, first of all, we're going to give you a brief overview and talk more in detail of who we are, the characteristics of our program, why it exists. And we're also going to present our pedagogical practices. We would like also to trigger some thinking and share some tools and that will bring forward some discussion and that will be useful in your practice for your colleagues and for your team. So we will talk about projects to come. We have projects under development on the back burner, and we will end by answering your questions as Nicole mentioned. So hello, everybody. I would like to introduce first who we are, speak to who we are first. So first, we are in the Cégep Gaspésie des Îles. Cégep Gaspésie des Îles, if you don't know, is situated in a very beautiful natural environment between the sea, the forest, and the mountain. And we would like you to come and visit us if you're in the area. The Cégep de la Gaspésie des Îles has 3 campuses and is national school in fishing and aquaculture. So we have a campus in Gaspé, the National Institute of Fishing and Aquaculture is in Grande Rivière, and we have a campus in Île de la Madeleine and a campus on Carleton-sur-Mer in the Baie des Chaleurs. Our program is attached to this campus at Carleton-sur-Mer. So you will see on the map, our team is a bit separated geographically throughout the province. We have people who teach who are in Quebec, who in Trois-Rivières, Rimouski, Gaspé, Bonaventure, Longueuil, Rivière-au-Nord, New Carlisle, everywhere around the province. We have teachers um, who are situated between Gaspésie and Saint-Constant, I would say. That's our territory, a big territory. Why did we put together a distance learning program? This program was put together and by my colleague Nathalie Blais. And one of the main reasons was to meet the need in the labor market. I dare say that we are still in this situation. There is not enough people in specialized education, not enough resources. And the choice of offering this college attestation program, ASA, will allow us to have resources, people who are trained to be into the labor market and specialized education. So the fact that we offer this kind of a program that will serve an adult clientele comes with certain particular characteristics. We know that our adult clients often have issues with work-life balance, family and work and studies. And for some, it's a second career. Some, it's a going back to school. Considering all these different aspects, the choice was made to give the program remotely, completely computer-based, remote-based. So it's a something pretty audacious because it's a human-based program. It's a social sciences program. So in offering this remote learning style, it allows us as a program to recruit teachers throughout the province, which allows us, and I like to say this, that our team is really different. They all have their own specific characteristics. They all have their own strengths. It's like the creme de la creme. I'm a bit boastful here, but I will let Nancy speak more specifically about our program to allow you to better understand the context. So our program, as Emily was saying, is a program that was developed before the pandemic, completely remote based distance education. It was conceived that way. This program for specialized education, it's a 2,085 hours, 24 classes. It's 6 blocks of training, and the last 2 are internships in the industry. So in the different areas where our students are located. So it's 22 months and 23 skill sets that we seek to develop, and it's on Zoom, and a part that is on Moodle, and a part that is streaming that you can consume at will on demand. So there's part of it that's not direct, that is on demand. So we have 6 different categories on our pedagogical practices and innovation, quite humbly. So the objective for each of these, as we said, is to share our tools, the way we do things, and how we work together. So I think that the microphone cannot be activated, but those who want to write this down in the chat, when a question comes to mind, if you want to share with us. What could be interesting also is to cast these questions as a team, because we think that it can be relevant and can trigger interesting reflections. So the first category, I will let Nancy prepare how we describe how we prepared a dynamic student life while being a remote-based program. So at the outset, we had certain issues. The distance between the people in the team are all around the province, and a team that is larger than what we usually see in the Cégep and Gaspésie. So we have a team of teachers that is quite large. So we had this issue. What we put in place to try and meet this need to we had monthly meetings with the team on Zoom, of course. So we also put in place a newsletter that allows us to keep in contact with the team and to keep everybody abreast of development and things that are happening. And so when we have meetings once a month, it really favorizes discussions and a program-based approach. So for us, that's important. So we put that in place. We've created also communication channels. We're going to present that later on, some tools that you will have access to after the presentation. We have really taken the time to look at how do we communicate efficiently in our team. So we know that uh, Lemio is the best means to communicate with students, but in our Zoom, we created a channel uh, of communication for the whole team that allows us to ask questions in real time and discuss and have discussions on best practices. It's our discussions day to day that we have on Zoom. Our email, Outlook email, for example, email address, that's for questions that are more specific and based on administrative or formal questions. So we will show you that later on. We have a table that shows all the different channels of communication that we have in place. Also, we've put together a code of values and principles. So you will have a visual on that later on. So we discussed as a team, what are the values that we want to exemplify as a team? And what are the principles that we wish to live by that will guide our actions, our choices, our priorities? So for us, the team, in specialized education, we think that collaboration and cooperation are very important. Engagement, buying in, openness, creativity. So in these important principles, we think it's important to recognize the expertise of each and every one of us. So that's the expertise of each of the teachers, but also of our learners who are adults, our students who have a life path and experience that is quite diverse, rich, and interesting. And the second principle is to train professionals that are competent, that meet the needs of the labor market currently. So we put all of that in place. We also want to develop a spirit of collaboration, of sharing resources. So our team, and often we are told that a remote-based team, we are very close. We have a lot of discussions, collaboration, and so that's a great point of success for us. As I was mentioning, we highlight the expertise of each person. And if a teacher wants to develop a new way to evaluate something or a new technological tool, then he will, in the department meetings, come and give a presentation to share that with others. It becomes a source of discussion and ideas and inspiration for other members of the team as well. Then we also put in place a virtual salon. We put this a virtual hangout. We put that on Moodle. So it's like those who know Moodle, it's like a place where there's all kinds of different tiles, and the idea is to support and give tools to the teachers. They have resources there so that a teacher can function day to day fairly easily. So whether they be new teachers or experienced teachers, we have a tile, a category for everything around administration, regulations, rules. We have different tutorials, um, different digital tools, and we have one on evaluation, one related to pedagogy. So there are many. And once again, this is something that will be shared with you in the tools that list of tools that we will share. So speaking of that, we want to share with you these tools that guide thinking, that spark thinking to encourage a dynamic department life participation. So, what are the strengths of your team? What are the challenges that they face? Are there things that you want to improve, things that we've presented very humbly? Are there things here that you would like to try out or improve upon? So our whiteboard exercise for you, then you will have in these tools that we propose It's kind of a toolbox, if you will. So you just have to click on it and you'll have access to a newsletter and every month. And then our channels of communication. So for us, it's pretty clear with the team now. We have different channels to talk about different things, to cover different aspects. So we'll have all these tools, the visual aspect of it, and our orientations that were decided upon as a team. So there you go. That's the first part. I don't see the chat, but some people already wanted to comment and give answers. If you want to do that, please do so. We talked about teachers and how to make sure we offer a personalized accompaniment while being a distance-based program, a remote program. So some issues with the adult students, they have some work-life balance challenges, and we know that sometimes in adult education, we have to have larger groups. So how do we make sure the students feel that they're in the right place, that they feel a buy-in, that they feel a sense of belonging? So these are the things that we put in place in our program. First, the same way other students go through a campus, we have a thrush week. So a welcome week, if you will. So some activities to break the ice, to exchange, to discuss with our co-students, and to familiarize ourselves with the different platforms and channels of communication. That's where we get the buy-in, the engagement, because we are sharing things about ourselves, our ex-students, our graduates, and people who use our services, who use the services of a specialized teacher or specialized education professional. So we are answering your question. Why are we here? Why have you chosen to participate in this training, in this educational program? We also offer lunch and learns, if you will. So we wanted to get out of the formal framework a little bit. So we want to offer workshops during lunchtime that really highlight the importance of well-being and self-care. So you will be your own tool. You have to be careful and take care of yourself if you want to take care of others. So whether it be yoga, cooking class over lunch, or different ideas from our students, but we have programming for lunch and learns and lunchtime well-being webinars, if you will. So also an approach of a universal concept of teaching. There's a flexibility to our program. It offers a lot of flexibility to our students, whether it be the fact that all our classes are recorded. So if a student cannot be in person, distance present at the live in the class, they can always go back and watch it later. So another modality, our students offer different modalities for homework, for projects. So if the student meets a client and has to give a report, well, the teacher will propose giving the report in writing through a video clip or different means. So we really have different approaches to try and capture as many needs as possible. So as many establishments do, we have tutorials, tutors, and services for students who need to catch up. And what we do as a team once a month during our meetings that Nancy talked about earlier, we do a follow-up. So class by class, student by student, we will really talk about strengths, problems, challenges, possible issues. So it's a time for discussion that allows us as a team to explore the support we can give our students. And it's a moment of discussion, a time for discussion among the teachers about accompaniment that allows us to share victories and advice and see the results that come from that. As a guidance counselor. I also have contracts with certain students to help them succeed. So, for certain students, the objective is to have an action plan in place, to have resources in place, to have individual time with them to bring them from point A to point B so that they feel involved in the process and that they take action and take charge themselves. And I am more of a guide, a Sherpa, if you will. So the same way as the virtual teachers lounge, we have a students lounge that brings together and puts together all the information that a student will need, whether it be tutorials, information related to the program, different resources. We really put that information in one place because we often got the comment that sometimes it's in Omnibox, sometimes it's in Pamio, it's different places. So it became confusing for certain people. So everything now is at the same place. And the last element is the micro planning. So we ask the teachers to give the students the first class. We don't function by session, but by block. So the first class of a block, a micro plan, a detailed plan. So if the class is 15 weeks, the student knows from the first class what the 15 following weeks will look like. What are the contents? What are the activities? What will be done in real time, and what will be done as resources you can consult later. So for teachers and students, it helps to plan things and to balance work life, and we know what's coming up ahead and everything. So for us, I would say as a program, it allows us to cover these questions of when, why, and how. The teachers, the students see the thread and the logical progression of all this, and allows us, and Nancy and I, when we do micro planning, to ensure that we have a program-based approach. So if we meet before approving our courses, some for students that wanted to have some roundtable workshops, and so the fourth week. So so a program-based approach because we already have a working plan, a plan put in place. I am aware that it demands some work. We have to put down on paper the coming weeks, the 15 weeks, but we see some great results for our students and for accompanying them in their progress. So some questions that we have for you related to accompanying students. Can you describe your students in 3 words? What are, in your opinion, the unmet needs of your students? And what is your department or what is it that you can add to offer a better accompaniment and better support for your students? So we invite you to use the chat if you would like to do that. And if you want to propose ideas or contribute, you can do that in the chat. Exactly. Thank you. So for those who want to consult our list of tools, our toolbox, we have an example of programming when we present, for example, the onboarding week with our students, the first week of our program. So we have an example of a program of our programming in the lunchtime well-being workshops, a virtual visit of our student lounge. So if you are wondering and maybe you want to put together this kind of platform, we will give you an example here. And there's also an example of micro planning. So the title of the document that we ask our teachers to ensure coherence and a common thread in our classes. So once again, and bravo, it think will be inspiring for some of you. So now the third category is to highlight the innovative pedagogical practices. So before we talk about what we put in place, it's important to highlight the issue, to talk about the issue that was at the genesis of our thinking. We wanted to take away prejudices and biases. Oh, it's easy. It's not always following the norms and expectations. We also want to favorize situations of authenticity and even remotely. So what we did is we've integrated the theory of self-determination in our thinking and our process. We want to have the students be as autonomous as possible. So we always have in mind, one of our preoccupations is to train professionals that are competent, that can meet the needs of the labor market. So for us, this is important, and following a certain progression. When you get to block one, we have some expectations. We have some tools that we want to give them, and so to make them more self-sufficient and responsible, self-actualized from block one to block six. We also use the portfolio, education portfolio, if you will. So it's an asynchronous tool, and so we can see that in our toolbox, but it's not a document. It's a living document that will be a guide for the students for complex tasks that they are called to accomplish. So a lot of teachers use this in their program. We also use the guiding file or guiding one pager, if you will, that follows the students. So the guiding one pager, it's a fiche repère, it's a synthesis of the different concepts. It's a one page guide or a short guide that will be used asynchronously to integrate some questions or places to take notes, or also asynchronously where sometimes there will be some readings and things that are proposed objectives that we want to reach. So it's very appreciated by the students. Some will use the podcast function as well. That something you see a lot now. And interactive role playing, we use that, and there's a teacher that really does great things with that, simulations, and proposes stories or simulations, real life situations, simulations where people have to make choices with a decision tree, and brings them to explore different possibilities related to the concepts that we cover. Then we will often use comedians, because even with distance learning, it's possible, and we see some great results, whether it be in a class of crisis management. You'd be surprised to see with distance learning what you can do. It's very impressive. So whether it be a classroom activity at the end of the virtual classroom activity at the end of the semester or the end of the block, and for evaluation, can be very interesting. Can you do simulations? The comedians, the actors, who are these actors? And what do they do? Yes, these actors, we have a bank of actors that are really very good at the capacity to really put themselves in the skin of what they're trying to exemplify, and they really can be disorganized and act messy, so on purpose to go and meet a client, and when you open the door, the actor is there, and he really plays the role, and challenges the student, and if the student does that, you do this, and if this happens, you do that. So it's kind of a simulation with a guided simulation that with actors that are really talented, and the challenges are students. So we'll also use roundtable discussions, 4 or 5 students. We will put them in a group with the teacher. We will explore base cases, different examples of real life situations where they'll have to have some problem solving mechanisms or exercises as a group. And finally, the class lab is a project that came out last year that we really liked. It's a pilot project that we did last year. Just give you an overview. We had students from our program for a social work kind of class, and the teachers, students who came from North Africa. So they came from North Africa, and they had some problems adapting to Quebec. So there was a pairing that was done with our students, with those students. There's a first contact with our students that had to build a guidance-based relationship, a counselor type of relationship, and propose resources, and to become counselors and to be able to meet their needs and to understand where they were coming from. And all this is remote, of course. These students were in different regions, and they had to work on that together. It's a class, a lab. So now a new exercise, a thinking exercise in one of your classes. Can you would you try one of the approaches proposed here this morning, or something that you've seen in a conference in the last year or in other webinars? So something in the coming year that will maybe attempt or try. So as the innovative approaches that we want to share with you, there's a toolbox here and a video that gives you access to this one page of this short guide, and also the educational dossier, or and also a document on the class lab. What is the objective and our vision of all of this, and the different parts of the project that were presented to the teachers for the pilot project that I mentioned earlier. There you go. So we've been talking about this, the distance factor, the remote factor in our program, and a guidance-based kind of program, a human-based program. So how do we offer a new kind of program, 2.0? How do we train teachers that are digitally competent, that can use digital tools and that are not dependent on paper-based tools, that we are evolving towards these kind of tools and use them in an ethical way? So how do we make sure that we can meet the needs of all, knowing that the skills related to the digital world are very heterogeneous? We have teachers that are students that are very comfortable, and others who have a steep learning curve. So what we have decided to do in the program is, in the framework of the program and the plan, we have different profiles. So it offers it proposes teachers in their courses planning, in their course planning, to have proposals from different technological tools that they could use in their class. And all these tools are related to certain specific skills. The TIC profile identifies digital abilities and tools that can be integrated to the final evaluation of the class. I'll give you an example. We are in the course in observation. The student must go and observe a client, and the teacher can integrate one of the elements related to the digital toolbox to be able to use efficiently and responsibly the information we have. So keeping files, keeping sensitive information. So in their evaluation, they can evaluate the best practices and evaluate how they treat the data and information, and to be able to reinforce these notions of best practices and the TIC profile. We also have included at the beginning a digital skill development. We haven't added that as a class specifically. It's more an activity to accompany learning that allows us to, may seem strange to say, but to put everybody on the same level, to make sure that everybody starts with a common foundation. So we have a guide and a digital learning tool or dossier. So this guide is used throughout their education, and they use it a lot. And it's a tool that initiates a person, that initiates a person that has never done any distance learning, that is very much appreciated by the students. So in the tools here that we are going to cover, I have these questions that I like to guide your thinking with. So when you talk about your program or your discipline, what are the tools that are essential to success in your program? And when you have identified those, do you believe that the students have the skills necessary to use these tools? Especially are sometimes they propose these tools, the teachers propose these digital tools. There's so many of them. We are not IT training here, but we want to train our students so that they can succeed at certain specific tasks. So we propose the TIC profile upon which we were inspired, and we also give you a visual representation of the digital skills, 5 from the Minister of Education. We also have a guide for digital education. So this is a guide that follows the students for those who want to use that. So for our team to develop attitudes related to the profession, once again, we have brought forward a major issue, which is the difficulty of supporting the development of a healthy attitude, how to evaluate without judgment so that the student doesn't feel judged. So we put in place a portfolio of attitudes that is in continuous development. We continuously make adjustments. So as a team, we have targeted 13 attitudes that seemed essential in specialized education. We are looking at a progression and following a taxonomy. Each one was defined with the team. Each characteristics and indicative behaviors that each of these attitudes come with, and each class uh, uh, covers one or many of these attitudes that we wish to inculcate. So it's dependent on the skill. We want to reinforce performance criteria of each of the classes. So each of the classes has one or more attitudes or behaviors that where we will bring forward some questions and look at different aspects and different attitudes that are necessary to exercise the profession. So also in each of the blocks, you remember we have 6 blocks. In each of the blocks, we have at least one class around an activity with the portfolio of attitudes. So if I want to draw a picture for you in blocks 1, 2, 3, the teachers for the students, for example, have to build a development plan or their professional development. So they have to evaluate themselves and build a plan. What are the attitudes that I have? Which ones I want to develop and work on to be able to exercise my profession in a more adequate way. So there will be thinking exercises, self-evaluation. They will receive feedback from the teachers. In blocks 2 and 3, that's where we begin to say if there's a gap or pedagogically for a person individually. So maybe to look at the development plan with the student, maybe to propose new tools as well. In block 3, looking forward to the internships, we will intensify the follow-up with the API, an action plan, an accompaniment plan that we put in place to favorize the access to the internship. In the past, we often saw our students get to an internship and say, my God, I don't know, there's this attitude is not developed enough. It causes a problem in exercising this or that part of the profession. So that's where we try to reduce as much as possible with this portfolio of attitudes. And our question that will guide your thinking around this. So in your discipline, are you able to target professional attitudes that are essential to exercising the profession? How do you get to support your students for developing these attitudes? So that's a good question to discuss and explore as a team, we often discuss this as a team ourselves. So for the toolbox, you will have a presentation, a video, a portfolio of last fall, what we showed last fall. We're still in development on this, but you have this toolbox that will help start the process for you. And the last category, and the last but not least, that's the Cégep de la Gaspésie et des Îles. One of the orientations of our strategic plan was to put forward the objectives of sustainable development. I know they're in small text there, but you have them here up on the screen. So as a program, we wanted to face this challenge to include the objectives of sustainable development. So why? To bring our future teachers to be aware of making smart choices, being better citizens. So we've targeted the sustainable development objectives of the UN that are connected to specialized education. And in our classes, the teachers receive proposals for training activities to evaluate the development of these sustainable development objectives. So to host a roundtable discussion with regards to the fact that most of the clientele in specialized education are often from marginalized populations. So to be aware as a stakeholder, to consider that in our actions, to, for example, work with objective number 10, to reduce inequality. So you can see here, there are a lot of linkages here with regards to the objectives, sustainable development objectives, and it allows us to bring our students closer together and closer to each other and closer to the real world, to give them social objectives, to go towards others and to open up to diversity and differences. So connected to that, a question for you. Is there at least one sustainable development objective, maybe it's already the case, that you can maybe integrate in one of your classes, or maybe raise awareness, education, talk about these objectives? Is this something that could be possible? And also, maybe once again, to accompany you, we've included a video that explains the different elements, the different tools we've used to put together a portfolio and different pedagogical strategies that helped us to integrate these sustainable development objectives in our classes. And finally, our projects to come. Of course, we have projects in mind for the coming year and a few years into the future. So the international internships, we really like to take advantage of this opportunity and offer that to our students. Have international internships would be a wonderful possibility for them to develop the skills and to deploy the skills that they've built, and really experiment the concepts that they've learned. And as Emily said, to build relationships with the sustainable development objectives, to work against inequality, to work for education, to work against injustice. So that's a first project that is interesting, that we're interested in. And the second project that will keep us busy in the coming year is the integration of Class Lab. So we gave you an example earlier of the pilot project of last winter. And now we are preparing a deployment plan of another Class Lab. We have chosen the classes related to this project. We are defining modalities for collaboration. So it's a project that really is dear to us in the coming year. So you have our contact information. If you have any questions, comments, violent reactions, complaints, we are open to discuss with you, and we can take some time to answer questions now. And you will find the references that we've used, the sources for this presentation. So before asking you to answer the two questions we've received. First, we want to thank you for your time, for the generosity of your presentation, the relevance, the richness, and a very interesting presentation. And thank you for sharing all these tools and resources with us that are included in your slides that will be shared with all the participants after the webinar. So a big thank you, very interesting. There are three questions. The first one was asked by Marie Malry. She is asking, who are the tutors in your program? How do you recruit them? Do you want to go ahead, Nancy? Well, yes. It's not very complex, really. It's students. They're students of the program most of the time that we ask them if they're interested, and we check with the teachers. For example, have you noticed a student in the program that has this or that strength or is good at this or that? And we pair them together. Cégep Gaspésie-des-Îles, we have Repcar that take care of helping with educational success. So they take a charge, and there's a remuneration associated with that as well for tutors. So it's a program that is very well established at Cégep Gaspésie-des-Îles. I hope that answers your question. Thank you. This is Caroline Thibault that is asking, I would like to know more about how your internships are structured. How do you organize internships? Is it around evaluation? Is there a certain vision you want to support? It's quite a challenge, I think. Yes, Nancy, you can complete my answer if you want to, but we have a internship coordinator that ensures placement because our students are everywhere around Quebec. So we have to find Fermont, Gaspésie, Trois-Rivières, different places. So the coordinator makes sure that she places our students throughout Quebec, and then the students are paired with a supervisor, a teacher, a supervisor that will ensure that the internship goes well, the supervision with the person that accompanies our student. So each student is paired with a teacher, and there's a teacher from our CEGEP that ensures the evaluation and the guidance throughout the internship. Thank you. So the other question, I think you talked about that, but it may be worth refreshing our memory. What's a class lab? It's the name that we've given temporarily, but the idea is to go with an clinic. So to offer our students in their class and their evaluation the opportunity to offer services in specialized education to the community. So as the pilot project, we paired our students with other students that had some problems for a counseling kind of relationship. So you will hear about that further soon, but that's the idea. There are no more questions. People really appreciate it and seem to enjoy your presentation today. So we will give you back 10 minutes of your day. So I would like to thank you, both of you, for this wonderful presentation. I have nothing but kind words, and I hope to meet you in person soon at the next conference for the AQPC at Cégep de Sainte-Foy. So thank you again to both of you. Very inspiring. Thank you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.